Share or Die is a horror film from 2021. This is directed by Joseph Mazzaferro and Joseph Daniel Thomas, and we have a cast including Lisa Arcaro, Danielle J. Bowman, Matt Coombs, Lauren Crandall, and various others. And I will say, first of all, performances, absolutely no problem. The film is not great as a narrative, but it does combine two things that I love. Social media-based horror, and also the Final Destination concept of very random deaths that occur when people are going about their daily lives. And it's not quite Final Destination. They're not being killed by things that could in theory happen. There is more of a supernatural driving force behind them, but people are dying in ways that are very random and just, they seem like they're kind of almost spur of the moment killings. And the concept is very straightforward, and I do like the concept. You either share something on social media or you will be killed. And I think I might have missed something, because at the beginning of the film, there was a news report about all of these people who had died, and their last social media posts were this post that said, "Share this or you'll die." So I'm not entirely sure how they shared it and then died. I think I might have missed that. So that's on me if I did miss that. But in general, the concept is revolving around a social media post and people then killing themselves or dying, depending on who's doing it, in different ways. And there was one that made me feel very, very sick. It's the one involving, I won't spoil it by saying exactly what happens, but it's the one involving gums, teeth and gums. I felt very, very sick. And I think that was a turning point for me. Up until that point, it was a little mundane. The deaths weren't that interesting. But I'd say from that point on, it became a lot more fascinating. So the narrative itself, the structure, the pacing, not very good at all. But the individual deaths, and there are a lot of them, they're not few and far between, thankfully. They are, I'd say they're increasingly graphic and gory. They're never too severe, apart from the teeth and gums one, because for me that just, I hated it, but I loved it. But other than that, I'd say most of them are quite manageable. But I did like this idea of, how will the next person die? What will be the reason for the next person's death? Will it be by their own hand? Will somebody else do it? And that kind of Final Destination aspect of, how will they do it with something that's everyday or something that they could come across in their daily life, I thought worked very well. So the actual horror aspects are not bad. I did wince a couple of times. And the teeth and gums one, I had to look away. I couldn't do it. And I loved that. But the actual story itself, I feel, is quite poorly executed. It's quite weak. Going from one point to the next feels very forced. But the points themselves, i.e. the deaths, are quite fun. So it's not a great film. I love the concept. I don't love the execution of the story, but I do like the execution of the gory, graphic horror elements. So depending on what you're in the mood for, it might be worth checking out. If you like the Final Destination films, again, it's not the same concept, but just the fact that people are going about their daily lives and something or somebody they interact with could suddenly be the end of them in what seems like a bizarre situation. It's similar in that regard, and that's what really worked for me. So if you do like that kind of film, I'd say definitely check it out. Visually, it looks great, and also the social media aspect and how that was edited onto the screen, I thought that worked very well as well. So the narrative needs a lot of work, but there are enough elements in this that I came away from it feeling, enough good elements that I came away from it feeling pretty satisfied. And if it sounds like your kind of film, then I'd say Share or Die might be one that's worth checking out.